Today we're going to go over best in slot PVE crystal builds. I've had a couple people ask me on Discord what's the best in slot crystal build, and they usually ask for this class specifically. I can't really attest to every single class, but what I can say is that I'd say that these crystal builds I'm going to show you here can be generalized across all classes with maybe one or two crystal tweaks. That's kind of really it. You're not going to vary too much from these crystal slots, at least at the current time of things, because you know things can change, get buffed, debuffed, whatever you want to call it, nerfed. Things could also change, like crystals, like for example, like on console we don't have the crystal Elcar visions, so that's not something that we have a luxury for. So Jin Vipers are kind of still a must for us than what other people do on PC, where sometimes they'll remove the Jin Vipers because the crystal Elcar visions are more than enough. So we still have to make concessions and change arounds for things. But yeah, generally these crystal builds that I'm about to show you should be safe on all classes with a couple tweaks, and I'll talk about them as we go through the crystal builds. Now, the interesting thing about every person that's ever asked me about crystals is that they all have the same one thing in common, and that's they have one PVE build, and that's just generalized for every area. And some of the crystal builds are not well built. Like some people do a weird concoction of garbage where like half is RBF and half is mob damage, or I don't even know what, which in some cases, like that probably sounds good on paper to like maybe somebody that PVXs and is a DPS class, but like if you're trying to maximize trash loot and find the best in slot PVE, that's not it. Like, I'm glad you're experimenting and you're, you know, doing shit that most people won't. There's a meta, and let's kind of get back to that. So let's start with the general PVE build. This right here will be pretty much the go-to for any spot. If you're just a person that only wants one singular PVE build, this will work on pretty much every single spot for the most part. Some variations, like I said, with the corrupteds could be, you know, your class doesn't have 100% crit. So what corrupteds do is it gives you 20% crit damage. So if you can't crit, you don't get that damage. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't have a class that crits like crazy, like Warrior for example, almost all his hard hitting skills are 100% crit, and even the ones that aren't 100% crit, we have a method that can allow us to get 100% crit anyway. So every single skill that I throw will do a lot of damage regardless. So I need these corrupteds more than I do back attacks. However, that changes at a certain spot at a different time, which we'll talk about in a minute. But in general, this right here will be perfectly fine for every single class, except maybe change the corrupteds out for back attack, which is the Crystal of Darkness. That should be the only swap you would need to make. Everything else though, I don't know what you would put in here that would do more damage than this. Moving on to the next build, this is the Giants PVE build. Now, this one's a little disorienting because I just like was kind of making a joke about half RBF and half mob damage. I understand how this looks, but listen, in the context that the person was telling me they were grinding trees with RBF crystals and half mob damage. So in the right context, it's hilarious. However, it is functional, just only at the spots that it's meant to be used at, which is Giants, Castle Ruins, and I think you can use it at Abandoned Monastery, but I think those mobs are like heavy capped or some shit. I don't remember what the fuck it is, but it's Bloody Monastery, that place. Those three places you can use this crystal build and you will actually do an insane amount of damage. And I thought this was a joke as well. I didn't even think it was a joke. I just thought it was stupid, and I was like, there's no way that this pulls more trash. So originally I was pulling 20k trash, and then Fridge told me about this build and I had it going up, and then I tried an hour. I pulled literally 5 to 6k more trash. It was like 25.7 or something like that, and I was originally pulling 19 to 20k, so I was grinding like shit. And it's just the speed clear, like that's generally all this is. It's nothing insane. Like, you're not gonna really have to do much. The crystals hard carry you. Like, I near about one tap the mobs. When I'm on the Zerker, I don't even finish my spin before they all die. Like, it's literally insane, and I could throw one devastation and the whole mob just turns to dust. So mind you, that's like 305 Kudum, which if you have, you know, less than that, that might not be the same standard, but that's, you know, whatever. Point being is that I wasn't doing that without these crystals, is what I'm trying to get at here. So even something as simple as this could drastically change how much money you make. 20k to 25k is a massive difference, and that can determine how much more money that you're going to be able to generate at that spot, which means more crystals of despair, which means more distortion earrings. Like the faster you're clearing, the more opportunities you are creating for things to drop, and that's the whole point of speed clearing. That's why these crystals exist, to make sure that you are maximizing that. And then we're gonna go with this last one, and this is just an honorable mention. I don't actually think that you should run these. I don't even think they're really that great. However, I still use them because I'm grinding Crypt now that I hit my Pendevo next, so I have to go to the other hell zone and figure out how the fuck I'm gonna manage to grind there without even being 401 DP. It actually won't be that bad. I've done a couple hours. It's not as bad as I'm making. I'm just dramatic. So the reason I built this originally was when I was grinding Ash Forest a while back, before I hit everything and was getting a little bit more geared. I didn't have the greatest DP. I was pretty squishy for the most part, and I ran a glass cannon build on the Zerker. That was a while ago, but for the most part, I didn't have any kind of crystal build that was able to prevent me from being CC'd, and that was the biggest issue I was having at Ash Forest originally. Was I kept getting just thrown on the floor, and when I would play the warrior or when I played the Zerker, both of those classes are frontal guard in their combos, so whenever you're using Zerker claws, that's forward guard. So if you get hit from anywhere else that's not in front of you, then yeah, you're gonna get CC'd. And then if I didn't have spin up, then the only other SA I had was like devastation and fearsome tyrant, pretty much. So like those mobs still hurt at the time because I had less DP. So I had the adamantines in there to cover my like the whole issue with getting CC'd, so that way I could throw out my heavy hitting abilities that don't have any protections on it. For example, my warrior, I use Heaven's Cleave in my combo, and as well as Solar Flare, Balance Strike, and Hilt Strike. All three of these are unprotected, so my literal opening for my warrior combo are 3 unprotected skills, and technically it's 4 because it flows into Heaven's Cleave. So Solar Flare into Balance Strike into Hilt Strike, then Heaven's Cleave. That's 4 unprotected abilities in the start of my combo, and I have to somehow pray to God that I don't get tossed onto the floor and then absolutely gangbanged. That's just is impossible. Doing war, like going to Ash Forest on a warrior where your combo is supposed to start out with near about 4 protected or unprotected abilities, you're gonna absolutely hate yourself. So any class that has a similar issue where a lot of your combos unprotected, or you have really noticeable gaps that are annoying that mobs could easily CC you in, you're gonna feel really bad. So adamantines are a must, especially at Crypt and even Olins. Like adamantines, you gotta run these things or else you're getting deleted. Or I'm sure somebody would be like, yeah, I never get CC'd. I'm just the perfect player. I hope you do say that. I'll believe you too. So outside of the adamantines, the rest of the crystal build is just tanky shit and accuracy, because at the time I didn't have either of those things. So I needed the Hooms to make me more tanky, so that way I don't get one tap by the mobs. And then the Vipers and Elcars, realistically, I probably don't need the Elcars. Most of your AP is going to come from your literal, like actual AP, because if you're trying to grind like places like Ash Forest and Crypt, like Ash, you could probably get away with like 290 AP and you could grind comfortably with Black Stars. And then if you go to Crypto, you're not gonna have a good time. So that's a whole different thing. And this crystal build might make it more tolerable, but I would say you need a good chunk of gear to sacrifice a lot of crystal damage, so that way you can offset that. But yeah, that's it for the crystal builds. Nothing too crazy. If you have any suggestions or changes or for class specific crystal builds, put them down below, and whatever you know, that's fine. But yeah, that's it. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye bye.